All right, everyone. Welcome. I know this was super last minute, and that's on me. There's been a lot of scheduling conflicts. A few individuals who were supposed to show up didn't show up. A few guest stars. A few people that said they could not show up, and then they were like, "Hey, I'm here now." So a lot of changes, a lot of fluctuation, but that's life. And that's sort of what we do. So we just go with the flow. But yeah, I thank all of you guys for being here, especially the individuals who are going to be here to talk specifically about what they're studying, right? What their major is, what their minor is, sort of how they began into it, sort of if they phased out of it, and what the prospects look like for them in the future. I know a few of you guys like taking notes as we do these things. So here's an essential question that's going to guide sort of our understanding of where we're going with this. Based on this workshop, what major would I consider is best suit for me? Is this major in line with my future careers and goals or personal interests? I think, it's hard to say one or the other. I think a lot of us have majors and what we're studying sort of combined in both, but it's always, important to think about those two. Um, so as I continue and, before I really get into the groundwork, I always like to begin with a land acknowledgement. And it's a small gesture, but it becomes really meaningful when it's coupled with authentic relationships and informed action. And I want to begin again our talks and acknowledging where we're standing today. So today, I would like to acknowledge that I, as a University of California, Berkeley student, reside in the territory of the Huchin, the original landscape of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. I would like to acknowledge their ancestors who lived in those areas and recognize that the Muwika Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. As someone on this land, I am obliged to not only recognize how I directly benefit from the use and occupation of this land, but also take active steps to uplift and support our various Native communities and their ongoing fight against ongoing colonialist practices. So I would encourage all of you, if you don't know in which native land you currently reside in, that you follow the link that I am dropping in the chat and take some time in doing so, please. Um, Very important. Um, it does raise awareness and our consciousness as far as where we're residing. So I would ask that you please do that. All right. So what's our agenda? What are things looking like, Gabriel? We just did our land acknowledgement and now we're doing our agenda. We're gonna go over a few norms and then we're gonna do our stories, right? We're gonna go into the specific people who are here today. We're gonna sort of understand who they are, what they're doing, why they chose their major, and then we're gonna take a short music break, this time with actual music. Have I figured out how to do that? No, but it's okay. We go with the flow. And then we're gonna do sort of a big group discussion where we're all sort of venting and ranting and talking about really good moments and the really bad moments. Sometimes certain majors require you to take certain classes that are the weed out classes. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that as well. And then we're gonna have our closer. Again, just offer you all students and then us as colleagues to ask questions to one another and then say our thank yous. So some of our norms to sort of really ground ourselves in as we're going through these presentations is that I ask that everyone please remain respectful, always assume best intentions, be proactive and not reactive to the language you're using. Embrace the messiness. Everything right now is messy and it's okay, right? This is a very fluid space, so embrace that messiness. I also ask that as you take space, that you also make space for others. If you see yourself asking a lot of hidden questions, I would ask that you sort of wait until the very end to really ask those very specific questions. And then take any necessary breaks. Again, I always let everyone know that if you need to step out, drink some tea, drink some water, that you do that, right? This is a space that I want you guys to actively engage with, be alive with, even though we're all behind a little screen, right? Take whatever steps you need. It's weird how sometimes you go to meetings and they're like weird about even you taking like bathroom breaks. Not here. The recording exists for a reason. Step out when you need to. This is going to be available to you guys later on. And then something that one of my colleagues added was just listen to others' points before adding in comments and ideas. It's sometimes we want to jump to the gun. As someone is barely getting their sentence started, I always ask that you sort of give them a few minutes to sort of say what they want to say and then sort of really process what they say before you jump in and make a comment. So yeah. So, I'm talking a lot about all this work stuff that we're setting up, but who is this? Who are you, Gabe? Who are all these people? We are the Student Dreamer Foundation, name change pending. And we sort of began this work, or I sort of began this work about 2 years ago, where I really saw a need for first year college students to really have these conversations, like real conversation, not like someone talking and going through slides, going one on one and then being like, okay, like already expecting everyone to know what we're even talking about. So again, I saw this gap in a few of my colleagues too, and we're like, you know what, let's do something about it. So I was like, you know what, let's do scholarships, let's do mentorships, let's do all these really cool things. And that's sort of how the foundation came to be. And now, as you see, our vision has sort of changed and it's sort of expanded, right? We're involving a lot of community partners in our work. We're involving past and current college students, leaders and activists, and we're really hoping to connect with everyone that we can. And I say San Diego County, but I have colleagues now from across the state that are really excited about this work. And we really hope that we can inspire you students and anyone else who joins our call to really become vocal and equipped leaders who can make changes in their community, regardless of their pathway. So again, we offer that flexibility, that openship, and those partnerships. But at the end of the day, we're here to support you students and your goals. So that's a lot of me talking, and nobody likes that. I don't like that. Now we're going to sort of shift into the awesome, great people. So I ask my colleagues who are about to start talking to introduce yourselves. Who are you? How did you get involved with SDF, maybe? Where are you studying? Why did you choose that school, right? Um, Again, this is your space. We want to highlight your story, so be as authentic as you'd like to be. So my first colleague up on the plate, an environmentalist, a real fighter and champion, not just for Imperial Beach, but the whole San Diego County region when it comes to anything cool in nature and outdoorsy. Karen, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, yes, that is me. My name is Caren Aguirre. I am currently a third year student at the University of California, San Diego, and I am studying environmental science. A little bit about me, I am Mexican American, grew up in Imperial Beach, so I faced a lot of water quality issues growing up that made me very passionate. I can't pinpoint an exact time that I became an activist or environmentalist. I kind of just happened out of necessity for you know, equity in water quality for my community. So yeah, I would like to say that I'm a community organizer as well as a researcher. I am obsessed with Snoopy and wetlands. Those are my two passions. um, so yeah, what made me choose my school was that it's very well, first off, I was able to stay at that campus a lot of the time through like summer bridge programs. So summer programs that allowed students to stay in their dorms to kind of experience and break the gap between first generation students trying to, get a sense of what college was like. So I would go to UCSD a lot. It was always on my mind, something, and it was always a university that reached out to my schools. So that really made me feel like good about them because I was like, oh, they're reaching out to my schools that aren't well funded. But also they're kind of like up there in the climate science. They update the Keeling curve. Scripps oceanography is like there at the table in like UN discussions, ocean panels, deep sea research. And that was all stuff that I was really interested in. And one of the big things that I wanted from my college experience was opportunities, not only to be in talks where the people that make things happen, but also to get hands-on learning. And yeah, UCSD was just that match for me. Plus the location's really nice. I love the beach. And they offered me great financial aid. So I feel like we can't undermine the opportunity of a good financial aid package. And then what made me decide on my major? Well, it was actually a lot of different components. But as I mentioned before, I grew up with water quality issues, so I wanted to protect my community, not only the humans that reside in the area, but also the animals and even plants there, because they all mingle together and they all provide a service for each other. So I went in into college as a environmental policy major, and then I took one economics class, and I could not. Those graphs actually killed me. I was like, what am I doing here? So I said, maybe I should just go through with my passion, which was science. So I became an environmental science major, and I really loved it. But then I was like, I'm really missing that social work part of it. I want to know more about policy. Like, there is a reason I came in looking for policy, but I don't want to do political science. So I added the minor of urban planning and studies. And I know Andy will speak more about this, so I won't go over urban planning and studies, but I'll just go over how it meshes with my major. So a little brief overview of environmental science. It basically looks at the different components of the environment and how they interact with each other, and it uses chemistry, physics, mathematics, and biology to inform these socioeconomical actions that we take that affect the environment. So it's really cool because things that I learn in class, I can see applied in the real world. So if I learn about the nitrogen cycle, I can see it in my backyard. If I learn about the carbon cycle, I can see it in my sky. So these are really real world examples that, when boiled down to the science, are actually very important in our society. But I wanted a little more than the science. So I took an urban planning class and saw how urban planning basically looked at the way we lived and designed it, and that interacted with the environment as well. A brief little example, I hope to not bore you guys, but let's look at how freeways actually divide mountain lion populations. So a little case study in California was that they looked at how mountain lions were actually decreasing in the California area, specifically in the mountains. And that was because of the ways the freeways were intersecting and isolating these populations. When you isolate these mountain lions, they can't breed with other different mountain lions. Their diversity decreases. They're more prone to diseases, and then they go like extinct. So that is a way that urban planning intersects with environmental science, because if you don't know what's happening to these mountain lions when you put that freeway there, then you're killing some mountain lions, and those are really important to the food web and the food chain. So that's what really made me really interested, because I just took all the components that I loved: social work, community building, community research, and applied it all into a nice little bundle of environmental science and urban planning. So yeah, that is a little bit about me and my major.
Awesome. Do you guys hear me? No feedback, thing like that? My headphones went crazy. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Caren. And now, a colleague that I used to work very closely with. We sort of phased out a little bit. Life happens. They're doing awesome work with urban studies, and I want all of you guys to hear from them. This is sort of for you guys to catch up with them, and it's also for me to catch up with them. Introducing Andrea Ongaco. Please take it away.
Hey everyone. I go by Andy now. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. I also go to UCSD and I'm majoring in urban studies and planning and real estate and development. Um, that is usually the spiel you get whenever I meet anybody on my campus. And I feel like I've grown so much as an individual since coming to UC San Diego, and like getting to know these majors and getting to like study them. I am a first gen slash second gen. It's like a 1.5 gen experience that I'm living right now, Filipina, from Imperial Beach. So I went to Mar Vista as well. Um, right now, I've been like exploring so much in my like bachelor's degree experience that I can't even sum it up all at once, but I used to work at orientation for the last 2, 3 years, and I've was an orientation leader, and I was now a senior orientation leader. So I like train people now. I've trained over 30 people into being an orientation leader, and it's like kind of like my pride and joy since graduating Mar Vista, and like I've made an impact successfully over like 1,000 people from like my direct training work, and that's like super like heartwarming to me to know that like I've like trained people into or like just welcomed them and like became their first friend in a way at my school. And that was a really impactful experience for me. So to explain my major a little bit, it really relies for me, like the reason why I take it is because of community development. And it does expand more into the built environment, which is uh, urbanization and like the collectiveness and the centralization of work, living, and just the interaction of being so close to one another in such a built environment. I've done research in GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, and now I'm currently a researcher at UCSD through a faculty mentor program. And I'm studying like community gardens, and this is all over the place, but if you hear anything that like sparks your interest, like please like put it in the chat. But yeah, I love geographic information systems. Right now I'm doing community work with gardening, and hopefully it's to show which Title I schools interacts with these community gardens that San Diego Master Gardening does. So if you're interested in gardening or GIS like Logan is, let me know. And I picked up real estate and development as a second major because I felt really passionate about not only the money, but the fact that I heard this one statistic that really changed me. 30% of individuals become homeless some point in their lifetime. And there's 30% of us here. So, I mean, in any room, but really, it's a real possibility and it can impact anyone. So I believe homelessness is a housing problem. Homelessness isn't a mental health issue. It's much more than that. And I'm really passionate about that. And real estate development isn't about housing. It's about like commercial real estate and housing. It's really big. But um, now that I'm in social science, I do not escape STEM. In my first year, I was like in pre-med, but now I'm not. Um, but I still don't escape Excel sheets nor math. I still use calculus often. And but yeah, the money is real. I would say that there's like so many certifications and things you can get into in real estate if you ever are looking into it, especially like contract work, which you can get licensed for. And it's a whole broad band of categories. Yeah, I kind of went on a rant. Um, yeah, I am also in this initiative with like Caren and I don't know, which is called the Student Sustainability Collective. Urban planning has like opened up so many doors for me because it's such a broad major and I can't really focus on one thing sometimes. So it has led me into sustainability as well, which I am the director of corporate accountability there. Um, and I love like being detailed and nitpicky and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah, there's just so much. And I hope if you have any questions, just like let me know and I'll pass it off to the next person.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I like that you included all these awesome projects that you've been doing since Mar Vista. And now, without further introduction, my favorite Ken, a real soldier, a real stand-up, awesome man. Logan, take it away.
That's really nice. My slide is super empty, but I promise I'm interesting. I swear. So just a little bit about myself. I also grew up in Imperial Beach, went to Mar Vista, and now I'm going to UC Berkeley and I'm studying civil engineering. And then on the side, I'm also in Air Force ROTC, and in about a year, I'll be commissioning into the Space Force and working with the satellites that we have in orbit right now. So how I got there, I applied to a few schools, mostly in Colorado for some reason. I don't know why. It was like a spiritual journey for me, I guess. But when I realized that the out-of-state tuition was going to be very steep for me, and the education in California really is top tier. I was lucky enough to get into UC Berkeley, and Melody and I joke about this all the time, but maybe the admissions office was, in a rush that day, and they just needed to check off some boxes, so they checked me off. Um, and it's really been a blessing to come to Berkeley and to be a Berkeley Bear because at Mar Vista, we really try to build school spirit. And that's what Melody tried to do when she was ASB president. And I hope everyone is still trying to continue to do. But when you go to your campus, there's already some spirit there. And so you get to build off of that. And it's a really beautiful thing. And with regard to civil engineering, I'll be honest with you guys, I did not want to go into engineering at all. I was good at math. I didn't love it. I took Mr. Case's calculus class and I was like, this is terrible. I hate this. But looking back, my mindset was I'm going to be going to college, and my goal is to make the most out of this investment. And so looking at the climate, around job security, around who makes what money, you're going to see more engineers getting into easier roles right out of college, and that's a really unfortunate reality because there's so many other majors offer, but the way the job market is right now, it's tough for everyone, and so that was my mindset going into it. I was lucky enough to get an ROTC scholarship as well, so my tuition has been fully covered, plus some stipends that I've gotten for living. And I've really fallen in love with my major. I chose civil engineering because civil sounds like people. And I wanted to build things for people. I wanted to, even if it's just a building, if it's just a bridge, maybe it can change someone's life. Like I have a little model of the Golden Gate Bridge in my room just because it's a little fun. But think about this, but like a bajillion times bigger. Like that's insane. Like how do people build that? That's crazy. Um, and so I've been lucky enough to intern at a few construction companies, and I found that most of the money making construction happens around that kind of like commercial real estate that's not always benefiting people. But no, I mean commercial real estate's great. But sometimes you're building for Silicon Valley people who can totally afford a ton, and you're not really building low income housing. And that's the kind of thing that really turned me off about the commercial side of construction. And so I've pivoted into space, which is also its own mess. But when you think about things like GIS, which we rely on our satellites for, GPS, which is what tracks our timing, and pretty much everything that we're doing right now is GPS. Like the fact that we're all in sync on the Zoom call, like when you look at your phone, everything is GPS. And so really trying to integrate those things within our cities and our communities, to try to give people the best access to the information that they need. That's a really important job. Now, I am very conflicted being in the United States military, especially at this time, and I struggle with it every second. And so I hope I can make a better impact in my position. But that's just my motivation. And when I came in, I was a completely different person. I felt very lost. And Melody can speak to this. When you come in, you have no idea what's happening. And I still have no idea what's happening. But I've really been able to find my footing with the community that I've built. Gabriel and Melody have been incredible friends. And no matter what's happening, never quit and like keep moving forward. And I promise you'll get to where you want to be someday. That's all I got. Thank you, Gabriel, for letting me talk.
No, thank you so much for being here. Logan is incredibly wise. He has such a great mentality and he's a very great poet, despite being an engineer. Um, now to my next slide. My favorite, Dr. Barbie. So I have my Ken here, and I have now my favorite Barbie. Needs no introduction. My greatest bestie and one of my best comadres. Melody, take it away.
Hello, good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Gabriel. I love your introduction. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Melody. I am lucky enough to go to the University of California, Berkeley. Quick little fun fact, Logan, who just spoke, is actually my roommate, and he's in the room next door. So my major, I am actually a pre-med student at Berkeley. We don't have a specific pre-med major per se, but we do have really, really great pre-med tracks. So I have actually done my first, I'm a senior now. So up until this point, I was pursuing a degree in molecular and cell biology with an emphasis on genetics, genomics and development. And I have recently decided to switch to integrative biology. However, because of the way the pre-med track is formulated, I will be completing a full molecular and cell biology major as well. So if you have any questions about like pre-med, biology, chemistry, molecular cell, integrative anatomy, all of that, I'm the person to go to, I'd say. So one of the biggest things for me, I really love telling the story of kind of how I got into Berkeley because I never expected to apply to begin with. I had a fee waiver and I applied to 3 UCs. When I called to ask how to submit the fee waiver, the administrator, she told me, she was like, hey, you know what? You have one more spot. Do you want to choose just one more UC? You don't have to do anything extra. I ended up choosing Berkeley and I ended up getting in on the last day of decisions. And I committed without having ever been to the Bay Area. I was also an Upward Bound Trio student, so I had been to a ton of college campuses throughout high school, and none of them gave me the feeling that I got when I first stepped foot on Berkeley. I will be completely honest with you though, as much as I love Berkeley and as much as I will say, go Bears until the day I die, this has been one of the most difficult and most humbling experiences I've had. It can be really, really rigorous, especially if you are applying to, like Logan mentioned before, schools in California have a really, really great just education system, really great access to teachers. I know that at least here in Berkeley, a lot of the professors I've had are Nobel Peace Prize winners. They've won Nobel Prizes, they've won awards, they have written the exact textbooks that they use to teach us. So it really is a blessing to be here and have the privilege to get an education at an institution like this, but that doesn't make it any less difficult. At least in my case, I know I have struggled quite a bit. Like Gabriel mentioned earlier, we have something that we like to call weeder courses. So these weeder courses are essentially lower level requirements for majors that are really, really difficult. So at Berkeley, some of the weeder courses that I personally struggled with would be our calculus class and our chemistry. So I ended up having to retake both of these classes, which can freak out a lot of people. I know most of you guys are prepping to go into college. You guys most likely have really, really amazing looking transcripts. So when you hit that point in your degree, when it gets really tough and you fail a class and might have to retake it, I know it could be a little upsetting when you're trying to protect that 4.0. But it's really important to keep going and keep pushing. Also, finding little things that you love about your degree. There's a reason you chose it. I know, at least for me, I struggled and I complain about my degree a lot, but I absolutely love it. There is nothing I would rather be doing. I know that this is my calling. I know that I find this really interesting. Just for an example, I am in this class that is a simulated research laboratory, and we try to perfect different techniques. Recently, we've been working on something called CRISPR technology. So this won a Nobel Prize back in 2020. It was invented by a professor at Berkeley, and it's basically a way that we can go into our genes, unravel them, cut them open, edit the genome, and stitch them back together. So this is some incredible stuff that I was just able to do in my lab. Just today we did a cockroach lab. We work with model organisms, so we had to learn how to properly euthanize the animal, how to trim off limbs. We used external electrodes to track action potentials in their limbs, so this type of data can be used to further a bunch of different types of technologies. So being able to do this in your classes is really, really impressive. But it takes a while to get there. At first, it can be a little tricky getting through those first rounds of prereqs. So if you guys have any questions at all about what it means to be pre-med, switching your major, what these classes are like I said before, I have a lot of experience with things like biology, chemistry, and physiology and such. But yeah, that's pretty much all about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melody. I appreciate you telling us about your day. That's very fun. I have never
Thank
had
you.
to work with cockroaches before, and now I kind of want to.
It was scary. I couldn't touch it. It started moving when I was yeah.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much. And on this awesome road of knowing what it means to be in a STEM classroom, someone else who needs very little introduction, who has an amazing, strong demeanor, is very confident in themselves, and will psychoanalyze you like this in a very scary but also very humbling way. Joselyn, take it away.
Love the introduction. Hello, my name is Joselyn Martinez. Just a little bit about myself. I am a first generation Latina. I was born and raised in Imperial Beach, and I am greatly passionate about all things biology related, and which explains my need and passion for becoming a physician. So University of California, Riverside. I will be honest and say that this was not the school I first anticipated in being and like going and getting my bachelor's or working towards my bachelor's. It was actually not even on my list. However, once I started looking really into it and looking into all the opportunities it offered me as not just as a first generation student, but also as a person who wanted to go into medicine and one day become a physician, I knew that that was where I had to be. Also, the financial aid offer was really good, so that didn't hurt either. Now, I did go into UCR originally being a biology major. However, I soon realized that was not really a good idea. As a biology major, it's very, very, very intensive. And what I mean by that is that for one requirement, there's like 10 classes you have to take, and there's like 20 requirements. So I realized that maybe a better fit for me would be psychology. I took one psych class, I believe my first quarter that I was there, and I completely fell in love with the subject. It had everything I loved about biology, and everything I loved from a humanities point of view. Like, it looked at humans from both a biological stance, but also a humanities stance, which just really, truly resonated with me. And I completely fell in love with the major. So that's why I declared it. I will say just that, going to college, especially when you're a first gen student, it's very intimidating and very, very scary, especially if you go to one that is completely far away from your home and, where you don't really know anyone. It can be very hard to just create your own sense of home or belonging again. But I will say that it's not impossible. It's just about actually realizing what you're working towards and who you are trying to become. I know that for me, it was especially hard just because no one in Mar Vista besides me went to UCR, especially anyone who was my friend at the time in high school. But once I was there and after a few bumps and bruises, I completely loved it. Everything, from every program I belonged to like shadowing local doctors at the hospitals nearby, and rotating from surgery to OBGYN and all these incredible physicians that I get to work with on a daily basis, to helping with Alzheimer's research with one of my ex-professors and mentors who I adore. It's truly a blessing to be able to do these type of things, especially when you were just not that far away ago, just a student in a public school dreaming of doing things like this. So, it takes a bit to acclimate to your campus and to your new life, but once it all works out, it's incredible. And the people you'll meet and the things you'll do, it's completely and utterly worth it. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, where I go to my major. If you are interested in psychology, biology, becoming a pre-med and all that entails, and doing some shadowing internships, please come and talk to me. You'll see that my email's right there, and just reach out to me as well. I would be more than happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Joselyn. I appreciate your conversation on these various transitions. Being a researcher in bio is very difficult. Even regardless of whether these weed out classes, the entire basis in STEM is just a headache. And talking about headaches, just kidding. I mess with this very close friend of mine. I've known them for a while now, and we work very closely together. And I'm always very grateful for their passion, their creativity, their mind. Whether or not they can articulate it properly with me sometimes is up for debate, but they're great and they're outstanding, and they are a great professional, creative mind to be around. Josie, take it away.
Hi, I'm Josie. Well, I feel so intimidated by being an art student from all these STEM people. But people want to be an art student, so I'm here. I am also a first gen. I'm a third year student at San Jose State University. Go CSUs, and I am currently studying Bachelor of Art of Photography. And I recently applied for the BFA in photography, which is Bachelor of Fine Arts. I was born and raised in Imperial Beach, as I think everyone here. And I chose this school because, first off, out of the 8 schools I applied to, San Jose State was one of the few that had photography. And another reason why is when I was researching the school, it had an amazing art program. It's super big. And I was like, this is totally for me. And it was the perfect distance from home, not too far, not too close. It's only an hour flight. So I was like, this is a perfect school. So I actually never visited San Jose before I came to the school. So it was kind of a risk, and I was a little bit scared of what I was getting myself into. But I'm honestly super glad that I took that opportunity, because studying here has been absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad I took the opportunity to study art, especially since it is kind of a major that a lot of people kind of are anxious about getting into, especially since like the stereotype of like never finding a job after, or the money. But I wanted to study my passions, and I'm so glad I took that risk. So I decided to study photography since in high school, in my freshman year, I had a passion for photography just as a hobby. And I decided to pursue that passion in yearbook. And my 4 years of yearbook were were the best ever. And just growing from that, made me want to pursue this as a career. And I'm so glad I did, because my 3 years at college have been absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad I'd done it. To this day, I still love photography, and I was kind of worried in the beginning. I'm like, will I still like this this career and major, and I still do, and I'm still very passionate about it. And the more I learn and the more years I put into this career, the more excited I get. And I'm just so thankful that I found my calling, honestly, because I was scared like what I was going to do in the future, but I'm glad I found it. And I'm able to learn all types of photography, like color, black and white, film. I have so much knowledge into this, and even if you want to learn like a different type of art, I'm also there to help you, since I've also taken a lot of art classes for this career. Um, and honestly, if you have a passion for it, just go for it and don't regret it, because I definitely have not regretted it. And the last thing I want to do is regret my past. So I'm glad I don't. And um, and I'm a wildlife street and portrait photographer. And right now I'm kind of like debating like what my career path, like where I want to go, but those are kind of my options. And I'm still just figuring it out, as like most of us are, and that's okay. Even in my third year, I'm still debating like what I want to do. And yeah, I'm kind of short, sorry. Everyone was so like great and long, but that's all I have. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josie. I noticed that there was a lot of different majors, and I was like, we need art. Art, and we need someone to be vocal about it. So I'm glad that you, out of all my other very quiet art majors, were here, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This other person who we're introducing next gets on my nerves constantly, and they're a headache. That's me. I realized that despite making these slides, have not come up with did not have an exact answer. So I'm going to make this up on the fly. Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Mendoza Jr. I am currently a third-year undergrad at the University of California, Berkeley. Go Bears. I am a proud first-generation Latino student here in this wonderful space. I'm majoring in legal studies, society and environment, and minoring in education. I have these other majors with like a little star just because I'm planning on potentially taking up those majors. That is, if next semester I don't go to Australia. I'll talk a little bit more about that. So if I don't go next semester, I'll be here studying political science and Chicano studies as my third major and my second minor. What sort of got me on this path of the stuff that I do, I don't know, I was in high school and I was very annoying. I was very short and I just had a lot of energy, and there was just not very good outlets for me to sort of take that out on. And I was just really passionate about local politics. Like I was just fuming with it, and I was like, who's battling who? Who's here? Who's taking the center stage? Who's making the choices that like affect our day-to-day lives? And I was just like, I want to be part of this arena. Like, I want people to feel the confidence to come to me and be like, Gabriel, over there, like, there's a really big sewage crisis. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to draft policy and change everything. And then the more and more I started realizing political science was just sort of I don't know, a space where old, rich white people could just rant about government and bureaucracies and how it all fails in economics. I was like, ew. I was like, this isn't what I wanted. Like, this is not the space where I see it. And I had a really great professor who was just like, these are sort of the realities of what like poli-sci is, political science. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And I was like, I'm just someone who likes to really like challenge everything. And one of my other friends was like, you know what about like legal studies? And I was like, I don't know. And I really just, again, given the pandemic and given Imperial Beach, again, where all of us were sort of born and raised, there was a really huge sewage crisis. And I was like, someone needs to do something about it. And I saw one of my professors and he was like, hey, here's a major, society and environment. It's like, you can call yourself a STEM major, but you aren't really a STEM major, because it's not like environmental sciences where you're taking the chem, the bio, all that stuff. You're really studying systems, you're studying policy, you're studying how it impacts individuals, right? You're seeing how individuals interact with all of these various ecosystems and how climate justice plays a role in all of this, right? Understanding the intergenerational justice, the procedural justice. And I was like, all right, I like this. I really like this and I enjoy it. And I'm sort of doing that kind of work now. And I was still kind of like, damn, like I really want to do like politics, law, and government. And my friend was like, hey, legal studies, like it's sort of poli-sci. We still got those old rich white people that like to rap, but now you get to challenge the systems, right? Now you get to know the laws. Now you get to sort of pretend that you're a really cool lawyer when you're going to class and you're seeing how these court systems historically have made laws. Because if you already didn't know, like courts make laws depending on how court cases are decided, and that has an impact on everyone. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I want to do this. And I sort of really began doing that really fun work. And while all of this was happening, I was just like, hey, I love education. I was benefited by great teachers. I had amazing mentors, and I want to be there for those students, those future students. And Berkeley, unfortunately, at the time, didn't have education as a major. So I took it as a minor. I really started exploring those kinds of things. I really started exploring what it meant to be a Latino in this space, and a Latino student first gen. And I was like, oh, Chicano studies sounds very fun. And I sort of started doing that kind of work. And sort of since then, I can just tell you Berkeley is a blessing. And I think it's a blessing to be part of any of these UCs, because whether we see it directly now or later, you benefit by the name. And I think that's sort of my big experience with Berkeley. Saying that you go to any UC gives you a leverage or a step up from anyone else. And that's sort of how I navigate some of the other fun, cool stuff that I do. I also really work with all UCs, all CSUs, all UCs. Being part of the California education system gives you an outstanding advantage over everyone else. But there's also a lot of challenges that come with it, and sort of some of the work that I do independently. I work with a teachers union, I work with student unions, I work with a numerous array of things. I don't even know what exactly I do anymore. But that's sort of what I'm using my platform here. It's gotten me internships, and potentially next semester it's going to let me go abroad. I am being shortlisted right now to work for the embassy, the US Embassy in Australia, or possibly the Mexico Embassy in Australia. I had previously gone to Spain to study immigration, and being part of this system and being like, you know, studying like law, government, politics, and the environment and education and, you know, all these disciplines really has given me an outstanding leg up, and I am eternally grateful to be part of this system and be here. Because really it was Berkeley. Berkeley was like, Gabe, I believe in you. Here's a lot of money. Stay with us. And I was happy with that. So it's been a lot of changes, a lot of fluctuations. What the future looks like, I don't really know. Things change, but I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm pumped. And again, if you really want to meet with me and discuss, hey, Gabe, I want to also do 10,000 things at once and run a nonprofit and work across the state and support and uplift unions here in California, but also the entire United States. And then also have really cool and cute plants in your room. Oh God, I can't even turn the camera. Whatever. Contact me. I'm more than happy to have these conversations with you. I'm more than happy to have office hours and really dive into all of this very fun stuff that I do. But that's sort of how I began, right? And I think what sort of all of us have expressed is that we began with somewhat kind of a mentality, and then the UCs, or this really big like higher ed education environment, just broke us apart and then put us back together in a whole new space. And that's sort of how I began my road. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing your stories. Oh, I feel so happy. I feel so motivated. I feel so inspired. But it's time for a break. We will be back in a few short minutes. Everyone step out, get some water, take a deep breath, do what you need to do. We'll be back at 8:06. I'm going to stay on here, address calls, questions, concerns, and then when we come back, we're sort of going to have like a discussion table, and we're just going to talk about what's going on. So feel free, step out. Yeah. Wait, I should put music. God, yeah, I never do it. Let me see. What's a good
I forgot to
saying?
show off my
Oh, go ahead.
concrete collection, but I have.
Oh yes, Logan has a concrete collection. Show us.
You can't see it.
He
Okay,
leaves
it's a,
pieces of concrete around our
it's
house.
a little concrete bear. It's a little concrete bear. It's concrete. I saw. I go bite it. And then this is a concrete mold. Look at that, little rocks and stuff. And then all my friends signed it. And this is a ball. So exciting stuff happening in civil engineering.
As a as a previous geoscience major, that is so cool. I still have so many rocks from my classes that are just laying around. Too much limestone and quartz in my room.
You just
Yes.
encapsulated the geoscience civil engineering experience.
Karen's gonna love this. I have a bunch of monsteras. I
Those
also
are my-
have a coffee plant. For those of you who know me very closely, I am a crazy coffee drinker, and I now have a coffee plant. And I'll show you really quickly. Anyone else have cool major stuff that they have? Show it on cam while I get my coffee plant.
I threw my roach away. I'm sorry.
Melody, where's your
Should've known.
roach?
Huh?
Yeah, where's your roach?
Well, I didn't throw him away because that is unethical. We put them in a deep freezer at -20 degrees Celsius, so they didn't feel anything, guys.
I'm glad that Berkeley has standards.
Thank you. We do.
That is crazy. Is that actually gonna
Yes.
it's actually gonna give you coffee beans?
Yes.
You're gonna get beans?
Look, it comes with a little baggie.
Don't let living in a dorm limit you guys.
Do not let it limit you.
You can dream
yes.
it, you can achieve it.
Oh. Even put music. I never put music on. It's like a song. God, my music, my playlists are cringy. Oh, look, and Logan's and Melody's cat.
This is Hera.
Oh my gosh, that's so freaking cute.
Oh my god.
I am mean.
I love your cat.
Yeah, but okay, also side note, if you guys need extra friends in college, get a cat. That's what we did. And it's worked so
So
far.
cute.
There's no me and Logan listen to cowboy music, and it's like the greatest thing ever. So if you listen to cowboy
Play
music, let
cowboy
me know.
music, please.
That's so
tried-
Ken. That's so Ken of you guys.
We listen to cowboy music sometimes when he picks me up. When we hang out.
Logan will drive us to school blasting old school cowboy music in front of everybody, guys. Our entire campus.
Yeah, if you guys have a great, actually, I'm gonna start doing that at every one of our meetings. Drop in your favorite song. That way maybe one day I can play it if I figure out how I can get music to work. Yeah, that'd be super cool. So drop in your favorite songs, if you'd like, and then I can play it one day and like bunch. All right, I'm gonna give everyone a few more seconds to trickle in, trickle out. I also want to thank our sponsors today. No, I am always very grateful for my team and their support. This template for these slides were made by my great media team, that is Josie and Jose. We stayed up pretty late when we first did our administrative meeting working on these beautiful slides, and since then I've sort of used them for all of our meetings. I love them. I love the colors. I don't know, they're just very fitting, and they just feel right. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our music break. We got to see plants, concrete, and a cat. That was great. Very, very heartwarming. And now we're gonna do a roundtable open discussion, venting and ranting Like, what is going on, folks? We're hyping up the UC system, but is the UC system hyping us up? Let's get real, people. It's not. It sucks and it's difficult and it's trying to kick us out. So let's have these conversations. I have a few sort of open discussion questionnaires here for you guys. But I think this is gonna be like, this is just podcast now. I think my first question to the group tonight is, what have you seen within your majors in your department that you consider a really big challenge? Like, what are classes that are just particularly difficult for you? What was something that you felt either your major, your department, or the school in general was just kind of using to like siphon you out? Because these environments are very sink or swim. So, I'm gonna start us off, and I'm just gonna talk about not so much as to a specific class, but I think it becomes a really big headache when we're having conversations about law, government, and politics. And obviously, that's very heated and it's very personal. Um, and I just get really frustrated when people love to be very vocal and adamant about their political opinions. But when it comes to someone else doing it, now we got beef. Now we got issues. And I think in a world that is in a very big need of empathy and understanding, you need to be able to listen to your counterparts, even when they're wrong, or whenever you think they're wrong. And yeah, it's just been a very interesting dynamic, just seeing people and the way that they voice their opinions. I've noticed that in some contexts, some people have never been told to shut up. And you can see it, and then obviously just makes things just very like but nothing to weed us out, just like a very stressful, heated environment. But anyone else want to pick off on this like rant train of your major and your department now that we've discussed and illustrated all the beauties? Let's get real. Anyone want to hit it off? You all seem so excited.
I can comment on, it's not my department, but a lot of my classes reside within this department, and it's the biology department at UCSD. What they decided to do this year was move all our discussion sections, which is a addition to it's not a lecture, but it's a space in your schedule where you're supposed to go with the teacher assistant to like go over lecture and like do some practice problems. Anyways, they decided that it's not effective, or like they don't want to pay more TAs. So instead they have one TA for this 100-person class, and it's all online, and it's only on one day. So if you can't go on Wednesday from 2 to 7, then you can't participate in this extra content practice. So that is very frustrating, because discussions are where I like actually solidify all of my knowledge. So having that resource kind of limited has been really frustrating for me, because I can't attend one single day. So it becomes really inaccessible. And yeah, it's mostly because they don't want to like get more TAs throughout the week. And I don't, instead of saying, maybe we should pay your teachers' assistants, they're like, nah, let's just fire them all and only keep a few. So that is very frustrating that I've seen it in my department.
To kind of add to that a little bit, about biology at Berkeley, I kind of talked about this before. For those of you guys that don't know, so what a major looks like here, for me at least, I'm in the College of Letters and Sciences at UC Berkeley. So what? Oh, okay, thanks.
You're good. You're good. It's just, it happens when I accidentally click it. Keep going.
No worries. But I'm in the College of Letters and Sciences. So for me, I have to complete a 7-course breadth requirement. So these are classes for like history, science, another language. So these are just 7 different topics that I need to complete just off the bat. And then once you get past those, my actual major classes. So technically all of the lower divs for an MCB major are weeder courses at Berkeley. So what your lower division requirements are going to look like, you're going to be taking chemistry. It's 6 chemistry classes. So you've got your regular chemistry with the lab, organic chemistry, and then the second year of organic chemistry. So each of these has to be taken with the lab. All of those are insanely difficult. So it's 6 chemistry. You've also got to do biology. Our biology classes tend to be notoriously difficult. You've also got to do 2 years of physics. Physics is notoriously difficult. You've also got to do 2 years of calculus. So this is before you even get into your anatomy, biochemistry, physiology. This is just within your first and second year what you should be completing just to continue. So it can get really, really difficult. I know for me at least, I love bio. It's what I'm good at. I'm not great at chem and I'm not great at calculus. So at least in my case, I felt like that was really discouraging. Going into these spaces as a first gen woman of color, not understanding it, and then on top of that, not feeling supported in my environment. Berkeley and a lot of these UCs and CSUs are extremely, extremely rigorous. It might be difficult to find someone who's genuinely willing to help you. It might be difficult to get access to GSIs or your professors. I know my chemistry classes are roughly around 500 students each, and that's not the biggest class that we offer at Berkeley. We have classes that are 3 times the size. So, that's just something to keep in mind. And also, if you're pre-med, just side note, you don't have to be a biology major. You can be any major you like, but you still have to complete those pre-med requirements. So MCB lines up quite a bit with those pre-med requirements. Yeah. Anything else anyone would like to add?
Yeah, and I mean, if I could jump in, I mentioned how I didn't want to do engineering, and a big reason going into that was because I felt good at math. I didn't feel confident in math. It wasn't my passion to do math. And really I wanted to be a writer. Like that was my passion. It still is to some extent. Like I love writing in my spare time. It's something that really relaxes me. And so going in my first couple of years, I really had a crisis where I'm doing something I am not sure that I love. And it's a very difficult thing to do when everything is pushing down on you. In engineering, you talk a lot about forces, like the world is on your shoulders first couple of years. So one thing I really, really liked about my college, the College of Civil and Environmental Engineering at UC Berkeley is the best in the world according to US News. And I think a big reason for that is because of the amount of support that they give us. They lay out our degree plans. We have to graduate in 4 years. I don't know if you guys know this about engineering majors, typically a 5-year track. They kick us out in 4. And so the support that comes from counselors and things like that are incredibly important. And so when you start getting these tougher classes and you feel like the world's against you, it really is important to have that moment with a professor, an advisor, a teaching assistant, so that they can let you know, hey, like you're on the right track. You're going to be fine. And that means a lot. And you're not always going to get that, especially the first couple of years, especially in those leader courses that we were talking about. And so that's where my frustration is all the time. And that's what I try to tell people coming in is there are things that you need, reassurance, especially coming from Mar Vista. Like math is not emphasized at Mar Vista. We are not taught these things very well. So what can we do to build ourselves up and build each other up? I think that's what this program is doing a great job of. It's providing mentors to tell you that you're on the right track.
I mean, I could jump in with that. I was weeded out. I would say that's my experience. I used to be actually in social a different social studies major, sociology actually. But I was attempting to be a sociology major who did pre-med. It like really tore my worlds apart when I figured out that it just wasn't for me because I didn't feel like I had the fundamental understanding of it, despite me going to office hours and stuff like that. But that was just my specific case of it didn't work out for me in STEM. But I figured out that I really flourished in leadership roles and in community development. I have like such a like not broad like broad arms. I just like I hold out my arms like to like a lot of people in my life. Um, so I think that's what like propelled me to be in such a social role that I can have the capacity for. And not everyone can do what I do, which is have the capacity to expand myself and like I like have gone like one of my positions was to talk to people for 14 hours that day. And I did that without a sweat. And it's really difficult to do something of that sort. But I don't know. It's just like something I really love to do. And I just love listening and talking to other people and giving other people directions on what to do too. So I love program management. But I guess the challenges that I faced was feeling feeling like I have to prove myself in such a big campus. UCSD has about 40,000 students, and I'm one of them. So I feel like proving myself is like a really big part of like why. And like USP, Urban Studies and Planning, is one of the like top 3 rising majors at my school. So I think becoming that individual really helped me feel at home at the same time at like being like a center of community development um, within my own spaces.
I just want to piggyback off like a little bit of what Andrea and Logan said. For me, I think one of the not biggest, well, yeah, a biggest challenge, but also just something I very quickly noticed, not just for me, but like for my fellow peers, is that not just in my campus, but I think all UCs, all CSUs, it's going to be up to you to truly sink or swim. Okay, it's half of it is up to you, and the other half is just like, you know, getting up and doing it. And I think for me in particular, I I had a very uncomfortable encounter with one of my previous advisors in my first or second quarter, and I sought them out for help because, you know, again, I think as many of us here, I am a first gen. So there's many things that you're going to have to explore and discover yourself once you get into university. So in order to seek some guidance, you usually go to your professors, your advisors, etc. So once I sought out this person who was my advisor, they kind of were very mean and a bit degrading. They expected me to have all the answers and to know the things I was asking for. And I think that's something that oftentimes, you know, it makes you feel very discouraged, especially if it's your first years on campus and you don't know what to do. It could be very difficult and upsetting to encounter that. So for me, I had to quickly realize that there's always going to be a couple people who don't have that in mind. who may be adults and may be your advisors, but don't have in mind the fact that you need to be advised, especially once they realize that, you come from a background like I do, child of immigrants, first generation, had to do everything myself since the day I got into high school and had to figure everything myself out, so it can be very difficult to manage that and do it with grace, because it can be very easy to get upset and rebuttal an adult, and it's probably not a good idea. So I think the thing I realized I had to do was navigate these encounters and do them with as much grace as I could, and just seek out other people who I knew would understand and who would advocate for me and guide me to the best of their abilities. And, thankfully after that, I never had another bad experience with any other advisor or professor. After that horrible encounter, every person that I reached out to was just genuinely nice and wanted to help me on my mission and goal of like, okay, I have to take these 2 classes next quarter, or you know what, I want to get into this pathway program. How do I do that? Oh, okay, this is how you do that. There's so many opportunities once you go into university that most of us don't really realize or are aware of unless you do a lot of research on them, and some of us don't even know how to do that. So to have someone there who maybe is a fellow peer of yours, or a professor, a mentor, whatever they may be, to actually tell you, you know what, I know you're interested in becoming a pre-med. There's this really cool pathway program where, if you get in, it's kind of a 2-year program, and then you are able to get automatic acceptance to their University of Medicine. Like, you should get into that. That's something I would have never known if it wasn't told to me or I did my own research. So I think ultimately, being able to navigate that and learning how to do that to the best of your abilities is something that can be very challenging, but also very rewarding once you know how to do it right.
Thank you so much. Josie, do you want to add anything else to this conversation?
Yeah, I was just waiting to like kind of pop in because some of the like difficulties of being an art major in general is kind of different. Um, Honestly, something I found that was really difficult is that like being an art major, photography specifically, it's a really hard major to find as a career, and it's hard future wise. So like one of my biggest tips, and one thing that a lot of professors have told me, is that you have to get a like an internship or in order to succeed in this career. So you have to have um like other professional experience in order to compete with so many majors of art and photography specifically, especially since now technology is rising and photographers are not needed as much. So it's kind of like a different difficulty, more like future wise than study wise. And it's more something that you have to think about, if like, do I really want to be in this career, and is this my passion? Because if it's not your passion, then it's going to be super difficult, like knowing what you want in life. And that's something that's like really difficult about being a photography major, is that like there's so much stuff to learn, and there's so much experience that you need in order to get a simple job. So it's like it's kind of like worrisome for the future, but like if you have an internship and you know what you're doing, and you have an amazing portfolio, an amazing artist statement, then hopefully you're able to get a job. But I think that's kind of like the main like difficulty of this major, kind of different from everyone else's, but that's kind of something that I wanted to talk about. Class wise, it is a very time consuming major. There's a lot of stuff you have to do for it, but that's honestly that comes with all majors. So, yeah.
Wow, thank you guys so much for being so raw and so honest. I began by talking about how I couldn't like I can swallow some people in my department, and you guys got so like raw and honest, and I appreciate that. Caren, you want to make another comment?
Yes, sorry, real quick. Yeah, talking about internship experience, I left that out, but I actually have a lot of experience having to navigate rejection and then redirection. So UCSD actually allowed me to have a geochemical internship when I was a freshman, and that was really, really cool. But then my PI, so the principal investigator, or my supervisor boss, he had to leave, and I was kind of left with no support at all. So I feel like navigating those internships and feeling that pressure, as Josie was feeling, I also feel that too, of needing to have this experience to be taken seriously, and like that work experience, it is something that is added on to the pressure of being a student and doing academically well. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that it's all good. I have now like 3 research jobs. I love what I'm doing. So it's all good. But I understand that there's like a pressure once you're out there in college to get that, niche, unique experience of research, internship, and all that. And sometimes it can be really hard when you get rejected or dropped. But I just want to say that it's never the end. I've been unemployed sometimes, and then the next week I have 3 offers come in. That's just sometimes the instability of like being in research and grants coming in and out. But yeah, it'll be okay. There's experience out there. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that is
I
going to set
just
us up for our next one.
sorry.
Future. Go ahead, Josie. Go ahead.
I just say something oh god. No. Internship companies, or just companies in general, love internships, especially since a lot of internships are cheap, and a lot of companies just like really like that. So it's good to apply to a lot. And obviously, as Karen was saying, you will get rejected, but it's such a good experience, and they love internships. Like they love people coming to the company and being like, I want to work for you, and like just apply to as many as you can. That's my advice.
So thank you guys so much for being part of this very wonderful and very like opening space. I was surprised. I was kind of like throwing in my jokes in there at the beginning, and then it got very real very fast. Yeah, that's the life. And I didn't really speak on this, but I'm doing 3 different disciplines in 3 different colleges, and I also have a bunch of minors and stuff. And I think, like as I mentioned before and other things, like a part of me is very excited about that. But I think another part of like me being here is still trying to prove something to someone. I don't know who I'm trying to prove it to, but I'm still doing that. I still find myself being like, I'm the first one here, so I have to do it all. Like I have to be the one that achieves all of these things and brings it forward for the family, for everything. And like, regardless of what you study or what you do, like, don't lose yourself in this process. Like you become very quickly like engulfed by that competitive energy, by that like everyone is here, everyone's there, and you become a different person. And I think what's very beautiful about all of these people that are here with me today, they were engulfed, but they came out above it. They became even more beautiful people on the outside and on the inside. They became gracious and they became very humble about their experiences. And what sucks, as to my point earlier, like some of these people don't develop those really weird, like those really niche social skills. Like be respectful and be kind and be open to what others want to share with you, because this whole learning experience like is to make you a better person. So I open that to everyone on the call and to all of you here. Regardless of what you study and what you pursue, life has so many opportunities for you. If you couldn't complete one major, something else is gonna come. If you didn't finish in 4 years, you need to finish in 5, 6, 7, then so be it, right? Take the time to explore your passions, who you are. And it sucks that we have a 4-year system that's forcing you to just get these things done, get these major requirements, and then you get a piece of paper at the end of it, and you're like, oh my God, now what? We are here to support you students and to support us as each other as a network. And I'm so grateful and so thankful for all of you for being here. Again, for being beautiful people on the inside, on the outside, having wonderful souls to be able to share these very, unique experiences. And, some of them come from a really good place and other of them come from really vulnerable experiences. So I thank you. And I'm very grateful for that. And with that, do we have any other questions from our guests, from our speakers, from anyone who's here on this call? Any other final closing statements? I want to be respectful of the 8:30. Well, I said 8, and now I'm saying 8:30. But we are going to close up soon. Be respectful, but remind everyone that I will stay on the call a few extra minutes to be able to share our wisdom, our connections, or whatever you'd like. But does anyone have any closing statements that they'd like to be part of this recording?
Sorry, really quickly, because everybody was talking a lot about like internships and research and doing a bunch of stuff. There might be times where you feel inadequate because you don't have enough time to do internships and research and volunteer. It's okay. Even just going to college and that's it is a lot. If you don't feel like you can add that onto your plate, if you don't feel like you can add a job or research or volunteer work, don't. It's perfectly fine. I'm taking extra time. A lot of my friends in STEM are taking extra time. A lot of people in pre-med are taking extra time. And then on top of that, taking time off after they graduate. Everybody's path looks different. Don't feel any pressure. All of these people here are very, very impressive. Don't feel like you have to live up to anything, or like there is a standard, or like you have any sort of like shoes to fill. Everybody's path looks different and you're going to end up exactly where you belong, and it's all going to be okay. It might suck for a little bit, but that's okay.
No, yeah, just to piggyback off what Melanie said, remember that you all have a different timeline. It does not, what somebody over here may be doing and how long it took them to do does not mean that it should take you as much or as less as they did. I think sometimes, as Gabriel said, we get too engulfed in trying to prove something to, whether that be ourselves, our parents, or just this first gen pressure to do and be as best as we can, that we kind of forget that it's okay to take our time, and it's okay if it's not the norm of how we're studying or how we're gonna get to where we want to get. It's fine. If you want to take a break between school and then come back, that's okay. If you want to like take a year extra, okay, that's fine. It's all just super specifically based on you and your career path and your goals. And don't feel less just because somebody else is doing more than you or in a less amount of time. This is, again, you all have your own timeline, and that's fine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again to my wonderful panelists. to all of you guests for making time on this Wednesday, even though everything was sort of last minute. Again, I apologize. I just came out of being sick. My wisdom tooth is acting funny. Life just happens. That's just how things are. And I thank you so much for being part of these messiness. Can I please get a wonderful round of, I sound like a pastor. Can I please? Can I get a round of applause to all of my panelists? Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Our recording is officially going to be over, but please stay on the call so I can take a photo for me to put on the Instagram. That would be great. But no further questions, no further comments before I end the recording for the general group.